Beloved, let us begin with a startling truth that will relieve your shoulders and humble your heart. Your burden is not your life situation. Your burden is the quiet creed you have been reciting since morning, perhaps since childhood. I am the one who must make this work. And the weariness that follows is not from the road, but from carrying yourself along it as if the world depended upon your will. Hear me. The turning point of your freedom is not trying harder with God. It is yielding the ancient habit of being the doer. The apostle did not give us a banner. He gave us a mechanism for living. I am crucified with Christ, nevertheless I live. Yet not I, but Christ liveth in me. Galatians 2:20. Not I. Those are not poetic words to embroider upon a pillow. Those are the working parts of a new life. Not I is a lever that removes you from the driver's seat and installs the indwelling Christ as the one who sees, chooses, guides, and fulfills. And the reason is this: the Father that dwelleth in me, he doeth the works. John 14:10. If the Father within doeth the works, then we must cease our pretense of doing them. Consider 2 mornings. In the first, you waken and step straight into self-originating effort. You pick up the list, you plot and you push, you ask God to bless the plan which you have conceived, and you carry a secret fear that if you falter, all will fall. In the second, you waken, and before a word is spoken outwardly, you acknowledge an unseen governance. Father, this is thy day. Thou art the activity of my mind, the wisdom of my choices, the love of my conversations. Here the initiative changes hands. You are no longer the point of origin. You are the instrument, and the musician begins to play. This hour is not offered to discuss an interesting doctrine called surrender. No, this is a practical system by which the indwelling Christ becomes the doer in decisions, dissolves fear of mistakes, transforms supply from getting to giving, and redeems relationships by removing personal will from love. We shall walk it together. Brief pauses that end self-initiated living, scriptural assurances received as inner confidence, and the holy art of listening within. But first, let our honesty be gentle and straight. Most of our praying has been self-management with God's help. We have looked heavenward and said, Father, assist me to accomplish what I have concluded. The gospel is more radical and far kinder. It is a new doer altogether. For it is God which worketh in you, both to will and to do of his good pleasure. Philippians 2:13. Do you see then why the burden lifts? If the willing and the doing originate within the presence, then your task is not to strain but to consent, not to decide under pressure but to receive under peace. Without me ye can do nothing, John 15:5. That is not a rebuke. It is an invitation to be carried. And when you are carried, fear loses its office, for responsibility shifts to one who faileth not. Supply ceases to be hunted, because the storehouse within begins to pour out. What have you in the house? Let it flow. Relationships come under new management when you stop repairing people and let Christ be the presence in the room. So we begin here with a small bow of the soul. Not I. Christ liveth in me. Thy grace is my sufficiency in all things. Thou wilt keep him in perfect peace, whose mind is stayed on thee. Before we speak more of method, let us agree on this foundation. Make no move at least. Make fewer moves until you have yielded the sense of being the doer. And you will discover, perhaps today, that life becomes strangely simple when the inner teacher conducts it. You will still live, you will still act, but nevertheless I live, yet not I. This is your freedom. It begins when you stop being the doer. Now let us take up the first practice, the little hinge upon which the great door swings. Without a period of meditation, even the briefest, it is as if we were going to do something of ourselves. We do not want that. We desire not more human brilliance, but divine government. And the gateway is small enough for every soul in this room. A period of meditation may be as little as 10 seconds. 10 seconds before you touch the phone, before you enter a meeting, before a difficult conversation, before you spend money, before you press send. 10 seconds of holy deferral, not I. 10 seconds to cease initiating and to consent to the presence that knoweth the way. In those moments we adopt an inner liturgy, not as a charm, not as a vain repetition, but as an act of yielding. Father, this is thy day. This is thy work. These are thy children. Be thou the doer. If the Father within doeth the works, let us make room for that activity. Be still and know that I am God. Psalm 46:10. In quietness and in confidence shall be your strength. Isaiah 30:15. The words are not decorations. They are levers that remove you from the seat of initiative. You do not abdicate life. You relinquish personal outlining and accept divine order. Someone will say, but is this not passivity? No, this is the highest activity. It is consenting to the government of God. It is standing still that you might see the salvation of the Lord, Exodus 14:13, and then moving at his word. Passivity is drifting without reference. This is precise reverence. Make no move, at least fewer moves, without acknowledging that the life within is the true mover. Without me ye can do nothing, John 15:5. With me all the yoke becomes easy and the burden light, because thou art no longer inventing outcomes. Thou art receiving instruction. Expect resistance. The mind will argue, hurry, plan. It will make its shopping lists and its speeches, and it will say, haste thee. This cannot wait. The pause is how you break the tyranny of mental motion. 10 seconds is enough to dethrone the hurry and enthrone peace. Wait on the Lord. Be of good courage, and he shall strengthen thine heart. Psalm 27:14. Learn this habit. Before the lips open, let the heart bow. Before the hand signs, let the soul consent. Before the feet step, let the inner word be heard. Thy word is a lamp unto my feet, Psalm 119-105. Do not outrun the lamp. Well, you may test this before the sun goes down. I remember one afternoon I had prepared a decisive telephone call. The points were polished. My reasons were righteous. But a nudge within. Pause. 10 seconds only. Father, this is thy day. Thy grace is my sufficiency in all things. Be thou the doer. In the silence, a correction came as clear as sunlight through a window. Not now. Wait till evening and say less than you planned. I obeyed, felt a foolish little death of pride, and in the evening the conversation was 2 minutes, gentle and complete. The Father within had done the work. Had I rushed, I would have reaped friction. By pausing, I reap peace. Do not make a ceremony of it beyond its simplicity. 10 seconds at the threshold of every doorway in your day, at the office door. Father, thy wisdom governs this hour. At the grocery till, Father, thy order governs this purchase. At the child's room, Father, thy love, not my will, be the presence here. That is all. And believe it or not, that is everything. Vain repetition is of no value. But if you accept these words as promises and as transfer of doership, they will give you an inner confidence that steadies the hand. Remember, the pause is not to get God to favor your outline. It is to withdraw your outline so that his may appear. Commit thy way unto the Lord. Trust also in him, and he shall bring it to pass. Psalm 37:5. Little by little, you will find decisions arriving unforced, words given in the same hour, supply directed in wisdom, and relationships softened by presence rather than managed by will. The door is small, 10 seconds small, but when you pass through, the whole government of your day changes hands. A tiny pause, the I stops initiating, the Christ begins governing, and you will discover with quiet joy that nothing essential is ever lost by waiting on God, and everything true is secured by it. Now we come to the heart of the matter. Not I is not a religious compliment you pay to God while you continue to manage outcomes with your own cleverness. Not I is the transference of doership. It is the inner signature on a living covenant that says, "The Father within me doeth the works," John 14:10. And the reason it must be explicit is this: the human mind is a tireless usurper. It will hold a Bible in one hand and a steering wheel in the other, and it will say, "Lord, Lord," while trusting its own momentum. We must be more honest than that. I am crucified with Christ, nevertheless I live, yet not I, but Christ liveth in me. Galatians 2:20. Not I, literally, not the originating will, not the architect, not the power. What then is your function? The human sense of self becomes listener, witness, transparency. The Christ becomes the actor, the wisdom, the power, the love. You will still speak, but the word will be given you in that same hour, Matthew 10:19. You will still plan, but it will be to will and to do of his good pleasure, Philippians 2:13. Not the anxiety of getting your way. You will still love, but it will be the love of God shed abroad in our hearts by the Holy Ghost, Romans 5:5. Not the tug of war of personal attachment. Your activity is receptivity. Your labor is agreement. Your strength is yielded quietness. Be still and know that I am God, Psalm 46:10. Let us expose the counterfeit, for it is subtle. The counterfeit says holy words but keeps the reins. It arranges, persuades, and frets. It trusts in personal charm, personal timing, personal fear management. It uses the name of Jesus as a signature under its own blueprint. It thinks faster, talks louder, presses harder, and then asks God to sanctify the press. And when fear rises, as it must in the economy of self, it sets about calming itself with new outlines multiplied into the night. That is not I. That is still I, wearing church clothes. How, then, shall you recognize the real? There is a felt transfer, delicate but definite. First, a quietness arrives, not the sleep of indifference, but the stillness of presence. Second, a restraint comes upon the tongue and upon the hand. Impulsive action loses its urgency. You discover you are not being driven from behind by fear, but drawn from within by peace. Third, a sense of being carried begins to replace the old push. Thou wilt keep him in perfect peace, whose mind is stayed on thee, Isaiah 26:3. Decisions cease to be manufactured, they are received. Words are not rehearsed, they are bestowed. Even no is sweet when given by the Spirit, and even wait is strong when the government is his. Do you see the mechanics? Pause, yield, listen. Affirm not as magic, but as transfer. Father, thou art the activity of my mind, the intelligence of my choices, the love of my speech. And then wait long enough to let the inner witness appear. Do not fear the emptiness. The emptiness is the womb of guidance. Without me ye can do nothing, John 15:5, is not a threat, it is your safety rail. My grace is sufficient for thee, for my strength is made perfect in weakness, 2 Corinthians 12:9. This is the algebra of grace. Your confessed insufficiency clears the desk for his sufficiency. Let a simple axiom mark this transfer upon your heart. I live, yet not I. The Christ liveth my life. Thy grace is my sufficiency. Whisper it, not to cajole, but to consent. And when the mind rushes to seize the pen again, return to the axiom. Return until quietness establishes government. Return until the sense of I must make this happen dissolves into he that is within me is greater than any circumstance without confer. 1 John 4:4. Beloved, do not be afraid of this learning. Don't be afraid of mistakes, and don't be afraid of failures. None of them are fatal. What is fatal to peace is only this: to keep the doership and ask God to furnish the fuel, therefore make room for the imprisoned splendor to escape, become transparency, not performer, witness, not engineer, and you will awaken one morning, perhaps quietly, to discover the verse has become mechanics in your members. You are living, yet not you. And the works that appear in your day will bear a signature you did not write, the Father within, who faileth not. Beloved, in the old system we lived by hurried arithmetic. We stacked the pros and the cons, we weighed the risks, we listened to the loudest fear and the brightest ambition, and having chosen on that basis, we added a hasty prayer at the end. Lord, please bless what I have decided. That is guesswork wearing a halo. It breeds strain because the doer is still the self, and the responsibility lies heavy upon its shoulders. There is a way which seemeth right unto a man, but the end thereof are the ways of death. Proverbs 14:12. Not the death of the body, but the death of peace, the death of wisdom, the death of inner clarity. We cannot afford guesses when guidance is offered. The new system is as simple as breath and as exact as light. Make no move, at least. Make fewer moves until the presence is acknowledged within. Pause, yield, listen. Then, instead of outlining the plan and asking God to furnish energy for it, ask the only question that belongs to a son in the Father's house. Father, what wouldst thou have me do? And then silence. No outlining, no persuading, no bargaining. Trust in the Lord with all thine heart, and lean not unto thine own understanding. In all thy ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct thy paths. Proverbs 3:5-6. Acknowledge first. Direction follows. This is a law as real as gravity, but it operates in stillness. Do not expect every answer to be a trumpet. Guidance often arrives as a restraint rather than a command. Sometimes the entire instruction is wait. Sometimes do nothing. Sometimes say less than you plan. The ego is impatient with such economy, but heaven wastes no words. Thy word is a lamp unto my feet and a light unto my path. Psalm 119-105. A lamp gives enough light for the next step, not for a year's itinerary. Be content with the step, and the path will appear underfoot. Let me tell you how this looks in the commonplace, because this is where we live. Some years ago, I was to make a quick trip for work, Chicago, on a Tuesday, a lecture Wednesday evening, and back by Thursday noon. The arrangements were efficient. The calendar was tight. On Monday afternoon, as I reached to confirm the earliest flight, the inner nudge came, light but unmistakable. Not tomorrow. Wait one day. Call at 4 o'clock. The mind objected contracts, schedules, impressions to be kept. The old arithmetic began to tally. But we have learned, have we not, to trust the restraint as much as the push. So I paused again. Father, this is thy day. If thou art the doer, thy timing is the wisdom. Thy grace is my sufficiency. I set the phone down, and at 4 precisely, I was led to call the organizer. You won't believe it, she said. A storm is closing the airport. Tomorrow would have stranded you. And this is providence. We can move the meeting to Thursday evening, which will include another circle of people we've been praying to reach. I went on Wednesday, calm as a leaf upon a river. The lecture doubled in attendance, and a private conversation that night, unplanned, turned a young man back from despair. The Father within had ordered the steps. Had I rushed, I would have been trapped in weather and fret, blessing my outline while resisting his. This is the new decision system. You become the listener, and the indwelling Christ becomes the chooser. You consent to be led minute by minute. Before sending the letter, you ask within, Father, what wouldst thou have me do? Then you wait until the inner peace appears or the inner stop holds you fast. Before accepting the offer, you ask, Father, is this thine appointment? And if the answer is no answer, do not force the door. He that believeth shall not make haste, Isaiah 28:16. If the answer is wait, then waiting is action. If the answer is now, then the movement is effortless, because the government is his. It shall be given you in that same hour what ye shall speak, Matthew 10:19. And it shall be shown you in that same hour what ye shall do. You will discover in this practice a curious mercy. Mistakes lose their terror. If you move on your best inner light and later find correction, you simply pause, consent, and adjust. Don't be afraid of mistakes. None of them are fatal. Fatal is only the pride that refuses to ask and refuses to listen. Commit thy works unto the Lord, and thy thoughts shall be established. Proverbs 16:3. This is not poetry, it is mechanics. Commit the work first, Father. Be thou the doer, and the thoughts, the choices, the decisions, the timing will come into an order you could not have manufactured with 1,000 spreadsheets. So then, today, begin. 2 or 3 times will remake your day at the doorway of an email. Pause. Father, what wouldst thou have me write? At the threshold of a purchase, Father, what wouldst thou have me do? In the heat of a conversation, Father, what wouldst thou have me say, or wouldst thou have me be silent? And wait for the inner yes, the inner no, or the inner quiet. There you will taste the end of guesswork and the beginning of governance. You will still live. Nevertheless, not you. Decisions will still be made. Nevertheless, they will be received. And the peace that follows will witness that another has taken the pen and that his handwriting never shakes. Now we must speak plainly to the tyrant that has sat in the captain's chair of many lives, fear. What is fear at its root? It is the creed that your personal self is responsible for outcomes and must prevent disaster. It is the subconscious oath, I must hold this together, I must never err or all will break. As long as I believes it is the doer, fear has an office to occupy. It inspects every thought. It polices every conversation. It whispers evil tidings in the night because it imagines the universe is balanced upon your wit. But when agency passes from self to the indwelling Christ, fear is given notice, its office is closed. Responsibility shifts to the presence that cannot fail. He that is within me is greater than any problem in the world. Not poetry, mechanics. The greater one assumes the government. You consent to be carried. This is not bravado. It is trust grounded in promise. God hath not given us the spirit of fear, but of power and of love and of a sound mind. 2 Timothy 1-7. He shall not be afraid of evil tidings. His heart is fixed, trusting in the Lord. Psalm 112:7. And why is the heart fixed? Because it has resigned the post of omnipotence and received its true office as transparency. The Father within me, he doeth the works. John 14:10. I live, yet not I. The Christ liveth my life. When this governance becomes more than a phrase, when you actually pause and make room, fear fades, not because you have argued it away, but because it no longer has duties. The presence bears the weight. You walk in step. Now, let us bring this down to the sidewalk. Don't be afraid of mistakes, and don't be afraid of failures. None of them are fatal. Fatal is only the pride that refuses to ask and refuses to listen. If you are listening, correction comes, the presence redirects without condemnation. I recall a morning I dispatched an earnest letter, kind but premature. It was sent from haste, not from quiet. No thunder followed, only an unrest within, a gentle arrest. Pause, be still. In that stillness, an instruction formed as simply as breath. Call and own the haste. Say less. Trust my timing. I obeyed. The conversation was 5 sentences and a silence. The relationship not only survived, it deepened, redeemed by humility, governed by another. The so-called failure became a one-day cloud that watered the ground and moved on. Here is the practice for crisis moments. Do not argue with the fear. Do not run at it with bigger outlines. Stop, bow the inner head, not I. Father, thou art the activity here. Then receive the promise, not as a chant, but as assurance. Thou wilt keep him in perfect peace, whose mind is stayed on thee, Isaiah 26:3. Stay your mind, not on the mistake, but on the doer. Whisper within, thy grace is my sufficiency in all things. Ask one question only, Father, what wouldst thou have me do now? Then wait for the lamp, not the spotlight. Perhaps the light is an apology. Perhaps it is to repay, to revise, to wait. Perhaps it is to do nothing and let the presence mend the torn fabric without your fingers. The instruction will be simple enough to obey. Heaven does not traffic in complication. Learn this tenderness with yourself. When you move on, the best inner light you have, and further light reveals a better way. Do not flog yourself for yesterday's step. Yield, adjust, and go on. There is therefore now no condemnation to them which are in Christ Jesus, Romans 8:1. Condemnation belongs to the kingdom of self-doing. Correction belongs to the kingdom of the Father within. In the new government, even detours are used. Even losses become seed. Even delays are timings undisclosed. Fear says, you have ruined it. Grace says, I make all things new. Let this be your inner economy. When responsibility shifts to the presence, fear loses its office. When the Christ is the doer, mistakes are not verdicts. They are lessons wrapped in mercy. Stand still long enough to hear, and then move in the step that is given. Trust in the Lord with all thine heart. He shall direct thy paths. Proverbs 3:5-6. And you will find, to your quiet amazement, that the path you feared to tread becomes peace beneath your feet, for another is bearing you along. Thou wilt keep him in perfect peace, whose mind is stayed on thee. Keep it there, and the tyrant will have no more work to do. Beloved, now that fear has been relieved of its office, and we have tasted the quiet that comes when another bears the government, we must secure this new way by abiding in the Word. The Bible is our basis not for argument, not for display, not for winning a point. It is for living. The words that I speak unto you, they are spirit and they are life. John 6:63. Spirit and life are not slogans, they are substance. A promise received as present truth becomes inner architecture. It is strength you do not manufacture. It is the invisible beam that holds the ceiling of your day. Vain repetition is of no value, but if you accept these words as promises and lean the weight of the hour upon them, they will give you an inner confidence in not I, but Christ. Let us be simple in method. Set a small time. Morning is excellent when you open a red letter edition of the New Testament. Read only a few sayings of the Master. You are not gathering verses to quote. You are listening for a word to carry. When one line warms the heart or steadies the breath, stop. Do not collect more. Close the book and consent. This is my shelter today. Perhaps it is, without me ye can do nothing. John 15:5. Perhaps it is, I am the vine, ye are the branches. John 15:5. Perhaps it is, fear not, it is I. Be not afraid. Mark 6:50. You are not choosing a charm. You are receiving a government. Abide with that one word as you would abide under a roof in the rain. Then throughout the day, at your pauses, return to the promise, not to chant it, not to prove it to anyone, but to let it prove you. Vain repetition is of no value. Living reliance is. Whisper within, Father, I lean upon thy word. Thy word is a lamp unto my feet. Psalm 119 to 105. Guide this next step. The promise is not fuel for self-will, it is consent to the vine. Abide in me, and I in you. As the branch cannot bear fruit of itself, no more can ye, except ye abide in me. John 15:4. Fruit then is consequence, not strain. The branch does not clench to produce a grape. It abides, and the life of the vine bears fruit through it. Let me tell you what this looks like in the commonplace. One morning, the phrase that rose like bread was simply, I am the vine, ye are the branches. No trumpet, only warmth. I carried it into a day with 3 meetings, one of them tense. Each threshold I paused and breathed it, not to armor myself, but to remember, not I. In the 3rd meeting, when old habit wanted to press and persuade, the inner reminder returned, branch, not vine. A softer sentence came, then a silence I had not planned. In that quiet, another heart opened. The conversation, which I would have managed into edges, resolved like dew. I did not use a scripture. The scripture used me. It revealed the Christ doing the living. The Father within me, he doeth the works, John 14:10. Do not, I beg you, turn this into collection. One living word is enough for a day. If ye abide in me, and my words abide in you, ye shall ask what ye will, John 15:7. Why? Because the asking has been converted. The word abiding adjusts the will. It aligns the desire. It changes the question to, Father, what wouldst thou have me do? And the answer flows within the very asking. Thou wilt keep him in perfect peace, whose mind is stayed on thee, Isaiah 26:3. Stayed, not skimmed, abided, not sampled. Peace is the sign that the word has taken root. Let your promises be few and your reliance be great. In a sudden need, reach not for a library. Reach for the one line you carry. I will never leave thee nor forsake thee, Hebrews 13:5. My grace is sufficient for thee, 2 Corinthians 12:9. Not as decorations, but as doors you step through. And remember, the word does not help me succeed. It dissolves the me that must succeed and reveals the Christ who lives the life I live, yet not I. The Christ liveth my life. Abide in the vine. Let his words abide in you. Fruit will appear without your fret, for the life that cannot fail is doing the living. Beloved, if the vine bears the fruit, then the same life must also bear the supply. It cannot be otherwise. Here is where the direction changes entirely. In the old economy, we hunted. We looked outward for money, for approval, for opportunity. We wrote anxious lists and then asked God to fill them like a shopkeeper. We treated heaven as a warehouse and ourselves as purchasers with fervent coupons. That is bondage. Labor not for the meat which perisheth. John 6:27. The master's economy is different in kind, not in degree. Seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things shall be added unto you. Matthew 6:33. Added by whom? By the same presence that now lives your life. When the Christ is the doer, supply is not hunted, it is expressed, and because it is expressed, it multiplies. How does it begin? With the ancient question, what have you in the house? 2 Kings 4:2. Do not answer too quickly with bank balances and budgets. Answer with what is present in your soul and at your hand. Have you a word of comfort? Have you a skill done with integrity? Have you an hour to serve without trumpet? Have you forgiveness pent up like rain? Have you 2 drops of oil, love and honesty? Begin there. Freely ye have received, freely give. Matthew 10:8. The inner storehouse is not a myth. It is the imprisoned splendor waiting for permission to flow. And the law of multiplication is this: break and divide. Remember the loaves. He looked up, blessed break, and gave to the disciples, and the giving did not diminish, it increased. You cannot prove this from a ledger. You prove it by obedience. Let love flow out. Let truth flow out. Let forgiveness flow out. Let exactness in your present work flow out. Let prayerful attention flow out upon the smallest task. Give, and it shall be given unto you. Good measure, pressed down and shaken together and running over. Luke 6:38. Not because you have manipulated a cosmic slot machine, but because giving opens the sluices of the inner river. Out of his belly shall flow rivers of living water, John 7:38. Rivers flow, they do not hoard. Make this practical. If you say, I need income, begin not with grasping, but with flow. In your present assignment, render a service so honest that conscience sings. Clean your accounts until they are transparent before God. Answer inquiries with kindness instead of calculation. Share knowledge that could help another without the fear of losing your edge. Forgive the small debt you have held as leverage. Send a word of encouragement where envy would have been silent. And between each act, pause, Father, be thou the doer. Let thy grace be the sufficiency here. Do you see? You are ceasing to be a getter and consenting to be a giver because another is living your life. Then opportunities arrive as consequence, not as conquest. And when they come without sorrow. The blessing of the Lord, it maketh rich, and he addeth no sorrow with it. Proverbs 10:22. Well, let me tell you how gently and exactly this works. There was a week, some years back, when the accounts were lean and the calendar thin. The mind began its arithmetic, and with it, that old chill behind the ribs. We have learned, though, to pause. Not I. Father, this is thy day. Thy grace is my sufficiency. The inner word rose, what have you in the house? Not much, I thought, only time, a handful of books, and a list of friends I had neglected to thank. The nudge continued, break and divide. So I spent an afternoon writing 3 letters of gratitude with no agenda, sent 2 books to someone who could not afford them, and offered an hour freely to a younger worker in our field, sharing plainly what had helped me. That evening, a note arrived, unlooked for, with a provision for the month, and the next morning a door opened to teach where I had not applied. But mark this, the joy had come before the checks, for the moment the flow began, the anxiety had no office to occupy. The river had started, and the river carried me. Let this axiom be written within you. Nothing must come to you or to me. Everything must flow out from us. This is not bravado, it is release. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. Psalm 23:1. Does not mean the shepherd drags goods to a fearful sheep. It means the shepherd's life is moving through the sheep, and the pasture appears underfoot as it follows him. Cast thy bread upon the waters, for thou shalt find it after many days. Ecclesiastes 11:1. Cast not clutch, find not chase. Therefore, at the threshold of any need, do not tighten. Flow, pause, yield, listen, Ask, Father, what have I in the house, and how wouldst thou have me break and divide? Then obey the small instruction. Let love flow out, let truth flow out, let forgiveness flow out, let service flow out, let accuracy and beauty flow out in the work already assigned to your hands. And while you are giving, keep your mind stayed not on outcomes, but on the doer. You will discover supply arriving like dew, not to a beggar at the door, but to a branch through which the vine is already moving. Thy grace is my sufficiency in all things. I live, yet not I. The Christ liveth my life. And in that living, all that is needful will be added, and none of it will own you, for it came as overflow, not as prey. Beloved, if the vine bears the fruit, and the Father within doeth the works, then love itself must come under the same government. Here is where many of us have suffered longest. The relational self, as we have known it, is a busy architect. It demands, it defends, it arranges, it rehearses grievances like a choir practice, and then calls the performance prudence. It measures out affection with a scale and labels the parcels boundaries, while the secret is fear. It drafts speeches in the night, polishes them as if truth needed polish, and steps into the room determined to manage another soul into wellness. That is not love. That is personal will in religious clothing. What is the new way? The same simple mechanics we have learned everywhere else. Pause, yield, listen. Before you answer the text, the tone, the look, stop. Bow the inner head and consent, Father, love through me. Be thou the presence in this room. I live, yet not I. The Christ liveth my life. Do you feel that? The government changes hands. You are not entering to fix a person. You are entering as transparency for a presence that already knows, already loves, already heals. The Father within me, he doeth the works. John 14:10. Charity never faileth. 1 Corinthians 13-8. Never, because it is divine activity, not human pressure. Apply the flow-out principle here. Forgiveness is not a moral performance to win a medal. It is the release of personal sense so that the Christ may appear. Be ye kind one to another, tender-hearted, forgiving one another, even as God for Christ's sake hath forgiven you. Ephesians 4:32. Even as after the same manner, we forgive by stepping out of the role of manager and yielding to the one who has already borne the offense into nothingness. In practice, this sounds like a whisper, not I. Father, remove the personal sense of me and thee, and let thy love be the only actor here. Then wait. Do not reach for eloquence. A soft answer turneth away wrath. Proverbs 15:1. Let the love of God be shed abroad in your heart. Romans 5:5. You will see edges soften, heat cools, and what you do say comes without strain, because it is given. What changes? Less reactivity, fewer speeches, more listening. Let every man be swift to hear, slow to speak, slow to wrath. James 1:19. When you are no longer the doer, the need to be right diminishes. Truth is right enough without your fist. You notice that pauses appear in the middle of conversations, a little Sabbath between words, and in that Sabbath a wiser sentence descends, or no sentence at all. Sometimes the entire instruction is, say less. Sometimes it is, acknowledge your haste. Sometimes it is simply, be still, and I will mend this without your help confer. Psalm 4:10. And remarkably, the relationship is not neglected by your silence, it is respected by your trust. Let me testify, so this does not float in the air. There was a season when a dear friend and I had fallen into a rut of delicate criticisms, nothing unkind to the ear, but sand to the soul. One afternoon, as I rehearsed a careful paragraph to help him, the inner arrest came. Stop, not I, Father, love through me. The planned paragraph dissolved like mist. I called and asked only, how may I serve you today? Then I listened. In 5 quiet minutes, he told me what my paragraph would have never reached. My part was to say, I hear you, to confess my own itch to improve him, and to ask forgiveness. The presence did the repair. Our fellowship returned with a lightness I could not have engineered, for my yoke is easy and my burden is light. Matthew 11:30. That is your quiet test. If your help leaves you exhausted or resentful, be honest. It was personal will, not Christly service. Hold this test tenderly. After a visit, after an email, look within. Is there rest? Is there gratitude? Or is there the sour aftertaste of having pushed a wheel uphill? The Spirit's work leaves peace in its wake. Let your speech be always with grace, Colossians 4-6. Grace does not scold, it illumines. Grace does not manipulate, it invites. Grace does not clutch the timetable, it trusts the vine for the season of the fruit. And, beloved, do not confuse yielded love with passivity. The Christly presence is wise as well as warm. Love rejoiceth in the truth. 1 Corinthians 13-6. There will be times when the inner word is no, or not now, or set a boundary here, obey that as restfully as you obey the word yes. You are not managing a person. You are following the government of the Father within, who alone knows the medicine each heart can bear today. It shall be given you in that same hour what ye shall speak. Matthew 10:19. Sometimes it is one sentence. Sometimes it is a smile and a silence. Sometimes it is a door gently closed in order to keep love clean. So let this be our practice. At the threshold of every meeting, message, and memory, pause. Father, be thou the love in me. Be thou the presence in this room. Then let love flow out, patience flowing out, truth flowing out, forgiveness flowing out, without the strain of self-importance. You will find that love under new management becomes effortless and wise, for it is no longer your project, it is His life in you. And where His life governs, relationships are redeemed. As much as lieth in you, live peaceably with all men. Romans 12:18. What lieth in you is Christ. Let him live. Beloved, when love comes under new management, so must authority. It is a gentle but necessary turn. Not I, but Christ must mature beyond mood and moment into a life directed from within. The ultimate authority is within you, not in personalities, not in organizations, not even in constant conferences or continual counseling. Do you hear the kindness in this? It is not a rebuke, it is a release. And they shall be all taught of God, John 6:45. All taught by whom? By the same presence we have been yielding to in our pauses. The inner teacher is not an influence out there. It is the Christ within, the Father that doeth the works. We honor teachers. We love pastors and friends. We receive the Scriptures as living bread, but we do not substitute them for the direct impartation of God. Vain repetition is of no value, and so too is vain dependence on outer form. The Bible is our basis. A red-letter New Testament is a wise companion, but the authority is not the paper. It is the breath that speaks through the Word when your heart is still. When He, the Spirit of truth, has come, He will guide you into all truth, John 16:30, into step by step, hour by hour. Make no move, at least, without acknowledging it. We have no organization. We have no memberships. We sell no tickets to God. Why? Because your communion is the source. You will not need me to live your life for you. You will have your contact with God. If I have any office, it is to point and to step aside. It was the Master who fed the multitudes, not the multitudes who fed the Master. The true teacher is but a servant who lays a hand on your shoulder and whispers, pause. Listen within. The Father is present. There is, however, a subtle bondage abroad. It wears religious clothing and calls itself hunger, but it is often fear. The need to consult one more voice, to scroll one more teaching, to phone one more counselor for permission, lest you err. Hear me with tenderness. Do not be afraid of mistakes. None of them are fatal. Fatal is only the refusal to listen within. If you will take 10 seconds or 2 minutes and say, Father, be thou the guidance of this hour, not I, but Christ, the next step will be given. The anointing which ye have received of him abideth in you, and ye need not that any man teach you. 1 John 2:27. Not because teachers are useless, but because the teacher is inside the temple of your own heart. Let me make this plain with a small story. A season came when letters pressed upon my desk legitimate calls for advice. The human impulse was to answer at once, to be helpful, to keep my standing as a prompt correspondent. As my hand reached for the pen, there was the inner arrest. Stop, be still, not I. The word that followed was unusual. Answer none until sundown. It sounded unnecessary, even impolite. But we have learned obedience is better than sacrifice. At sundown, 3 different messages had arrived. Revising the situations, 2 no longer required counsel. The 3rd required an answer I would not have given in the morning. The presence taught without a syllable of my own wisdom. The Father within me, he doeth the works. John 14:10. Now, do not misread me. Honor those who labor in the word. Pay your debts. Keep courtesy. Attend services where you are fed. But when the service ends, go into your closet, shut the door, and touch your source. Make no idol of methods, personalities, or programs. Let every outer thing be a signpost, not a substitute. Keep your 2 or 3 pauses. In each, offer the simplest consent. Father, this is thy hour. Speak, for thy servant heareth, 1 Samuel 3-9. Then listen not for a lecture, but for a lamp to the next step. A lamp, not a spotlight, enough light to obey. What will follow? A stable, quiet, a settlement of the soul. You will find yourself less frantic for confirmation, less addicted to spiritual news, more at home in the presence that goes with you into the shop, the kitchen, the meeting. Lo, I am with you always. Matthew 28-20. And presently you will discover that you do not need anyone to live your life for you, for another is living it through you. I will never leave thee, nor forsake thee, Hebrews 13-5. Thou wilt keep him in perfect peace, whose mind is stayed on thee. Stay it there. We have no memberships to maintain in this kingdom. Our card is the heart that abides. I live, yet not I. Christ is living my life, and because he is, the end of dependence is not loneliness but liberty, the liberty of sons led by the Spirit, taught of God, safe in the inner teacher the rest of our days. Beloved, let us not leave this in the realm of ideas. We will practice now. Wherever you are, be at ease. Place your feet upon the floor as on holy ground. Let the hands rest. Soften the brow, the jaw, the shoulders. Let the breath come and go without management. We are not going to make something happen. We are going to acknowledge that which already is. Be still and know that I am God. Psalm 46-10. For a few moments, no words, only consent. Allow the mind to set down its bundles by the door. One by one, thought will still present itself. Do not fight it. Let it pass like a bird across the sky. Underneath all of that, Notice the quiet that is not manufactured, the presence that does not arrive because you called, but is discovered because you ceased calling. Now, in a whisper of the heart, not to the air, but to the indwelling life, let this prayer form. Father, I can do nothing. Thou art the doer. Live thy life as me. Say it slowly within, as if each phrase were a key turning in a lock. Father, I can do nothing. Thou art the doer. Live thy life as me. And again, softer. We are not trying to persuade God to act. We are surrendering the pretense that we were acting. I live, yet not I, but Christ liveth in me. Galatians 2:20. The Father within me, he doeth the works. John 14:10. Rest there. Now bring one concern into this light, only one. We are not shopping, we are presenting. Let it be whatever stands at the door of your thought. A decision, a fear, a bill, a strained relationship. Hold it before the presence the way a child holds a broken toy before a loving father, without explanation, without defense. Refuse for this moment to outline. Refuse to plan the outcome. We are yielding the doer. Whisper once more, Father, I can do nothing. Thou art the doer. Live thy life as me. Then wait, not idly attentively. Trust in the Lord with all thine heart, and lean not unto thine own understanding. Proverbs 3-5. How shall you know guidance? Often it is not a sentence, it is a settling. The urgency melts as frost and sun. Sometimes it is restraint, a gentle, not now. Sometimes it is a single next step. Call this one, apologize simply. Cancel the meeting. Wait till sundown. Sometimes it is the disappearance of the question itself, as if the knot untied when your hand let go of both ends. Do not demand a plan, expect a lamp. Thy word is a lamp unto my feet. Psalm 119-105. A lamp for the next step, not a searchlight for the next year. If nothing specific appears, do not invent it. The quiet itself is instruction. Be still. In that stillness, the hidden line of the hour draws itself. Do not be afraid of mistakes, and do not be afraid of silence. None of these are fatal. Fatal only is to seize back the reins. Remain a moment longer with the prayer as breathing, not I, Christ. Not I, Christ. Then, if a step has been given, consent to it without debate. If the word is wait, lay the matter down as if you had placed it on the altar. If the heat has left the room of your mind, do not go back in to rekindle it. In quietness and in confidence shall be your strength. Isaiah 30-15. We will close this exercise not with effort, but with assurance. Receive this, not as charm, but as fact. Thy grace is my sufficiency in all things. Confer 2 Corinthians 12-9. Let the words rest in you the way bread rests in the body, becoming life without your supervision. Thy grace present, active, enough. My sufficiency in this decision, in this fear, in this provision, in this love. In all things, not some. And now, gently, open your eyes if they were closed. Carry the same stillness into the next act. Make no move, at least, without acknowledging it. The doctrine has become life the moment you yielded the doer in silence. Keep 2 or 3 such moments today. The vine will bear the fruit. Beloved, let us make this practical for tomorrow. There is no magic in numbers, but there is wisdom in rhythm. Set aside 2 or 3 periods in the day, 2 minutes, or 3 or 5, no more is needed if they are sincere. Morning, midday, and evening will serve most of you. And between these, sprinkle the hour with small obediences. 10 seconds before you begin a call, 10 seconds before you send a message, 10 seconds at the threshold of any decision. Pause, yield, listen, make no move, at least, without acknowledging it. In all thy ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct thy paths. Proverbs 3-6. In the morning, before the hand reaches for the phone or the headlines, commission the day. Sit quietly and say within, Father, this is thy day, not I, but Christ. Live thy life as me. Do not hurry. Let the breath grow honest. Then receive 2 touchstones to carry, 1 red-letter saying of the Master and 1 psalm promise. Keep it simple. Perhaps abide in me, for without me ye can do nothing. John 15:4-5. And with it, the Lord is my shepherd. I shall not want. Psalm 23:1. Or, fear not, it is I. Mark 6:50. And thou wilt keep him in perfect peace, whose mind is stayed on thee. Isaiah 26:3. Do not collect a basket, take 1 of each. Close the book and consent. These shall govern my going out and my coming in this day. We are not arming for battle. We are abiding in the vine. At midday, stop again for 2 or 3 minutes. You need not change rooms. Change government. Whisper, Father, is there any place I have resumed being the doer? Then listen, without condemnation. If you find that you rushed ahead in a meeting, or leaned upon your wit in an email, or pressed a friend with your will, do not build a drama. Return as a child returns to a hand, not I, Christ. Lift the morning word back into awareness, your red-letter line, your psalm, and let it be a lamp for the next step, Psalm 119-105. Then go on with your work, quietly corrected, gently re-aimed. In the evening, review, but without the gavel. Sit for 2 or 5 minutes beneath the same presence and ask, where today did I pick up the reins? Where did I obey? Where did I hear and delay? Confess simply, there, Father, I ran ahead. Here I yielded. Thank thee for leading, and thank thee for forgiving. He restoreth my soul. Psalm 23-3. Let restoration, not recrimination, be the last word. You are not writing a report card for God. You are consenting to correction. Then sleep under the same promise you carried. I will both lay me down in peace and sleep, for thou, Lord, only makest me dwell in safety. Psalm 4-8. Between these anchors, keep the 10-second acknowledgments. Before you dial, pause. Father, be thou the doer. Before you sign, pause. Father, be thou the doer. Before you answer the child, the colleague, the critic, pause. Father, be thou the presence in this room. These tiny hinges will swing large doors. You will find decisions no longer manufactured but received, words given in that same hour, Matthew 10:19. And when no word is given, the restraint itself is mercy. How shall you measure progress? Not by constant peace that belongs to heaven's climate, and you are learning to breathe it, but by quicker return. Not by perfect hearing, but by increased willingness to obey the simplest nudge. Not by days without mistakes, but by days when mistakes become speed bumps instead of cliffs. The steps of a good man are ordered by the Lord, and he delighteth in his way. Though he fall, he shall not be utterly cast down. Psalm 37-23-24. Do not be afraid of stumbles. Be afraid only of ceasing to pause. Remember, beloved, devotion, not drama. There are no easy paths. There is a simple path. It will be the degree of your sincerity and your consistency. 2 or 3 pauses, honestly kept, will rebuild a life because they rebuild the government of a life. The promises you carry are not ornaments. They are scaffolding for the soul. The 10-second acknowledgments are not trifles. They are altars at every threshold. Keep them. guard them. And as you do, the confession of Paul ceases to be poetry and becomes mechanics. I am crucified with Christ. Nevertheless I live, yet not I, but Christ liveth in me, Galatians 2:20. Then tomorrow's ordinary hours become the sanctuary where another lives your life, and fruit appears without strain, and fear loses its office, and love does the loving through you. Thy grace is my sufficiency in all things, not I, Christ. Beloved, this is the quiet triumph, not the trumpet of self-mastery, not the parade of improved willpower, but the hush that comes when the government of your life has changed hands. We have walked together from self-initiated living into a simple transfer of agency. With a pause and a prayer, you ceased being the doer. With a promise in your heart, you took your place as branch and let the vine bear the fruit. And then what happened? Decisions were no longer manufactured but received. Fear lost its office because responsibility shifted to the presence that cannot fail. Supply reversed direction. You stopped hunting and let it flow out as love, as truth, as forgiveness, and it multiplied. Relationships came under new management. You retired from fixing, and love did the loving through you. I am crucified with Christ. Nevertheless I live, yet not I, but Christ liveth in me. Galatians 2:20. This is not poetry. This is mechanics. Now hear this with tenderness. You will forget. You will wake one morning and reach for the reins. You will draft speeches, press outcomes, and feel the old heat of urgency in the chest. Do not make a theology of regret. Return. The presence is not offended by your learning curve. Though he fall, he shall not be utterly cast down, for the Lord upholdeth him with his hand, Psalm 37-24. The secret is quicker return. A 10-second bow of the heart, Father, forgive my haste, not I, Christ. And at once the yoke lightens, the burden fits, the government is restored. Don't be afraid of mistakes. None of them are fatal. Fatal is only the refusal to pause. Seal this in your identity. You are not a struggling mortal trying to reach God. You are the temple in which God dwells and acts. Know ye not that ye are the temple of God? 1 Corinthians 3:16. You are an instrument, not the musician, a branch, not the vineyard, a servant at the door through whom the master enters. The Father within me, he doeth the works, John 14:10. For it is God which worketh in you both to will and to do of his good pleasure, Philippians 2:13. When this is accepted, striving yields to consent, anxiety to trust, and life becomes what it was always meant to be. God expressing himself as your individual selfhood. You live, yet not you. Christ is living your life. Keep the simple rhythm that made this real. 2 or 3 pauses a day, 2 minutes, or 3 other hinges on which the door of the hour swings. Carry 1 red-letter word and 1 promise as the lamp to your feet. Let the inner teacher govern each next step. You will find a new decision system within you, guidance replacing guesswork. You will watch fear retire from its counterfeit office, for the office is filled by love. You will prove that supply is not gotten but given. What have you in the house? Break and divide. Let kindness flow out. Let truth flow out. Let forgiveness flow out. And you will witness relationships quietly redeemed, not by your pressure, but by presence. Without me ye can do nothing, John 15:5. With thee, thy grace is my sufficiency in all things. So we close not with resolve, but with surrender. Father, take me, use me, govern me. Let the Christ be seen. Let it be thy life, thy love, thy wisdom. Be thou my mind for thinking, my mouth for speaking, my hand for serving, my heart for loving. I can of mine own self do nothing. Thou art the doer. I live, yet not I, Christ liveth in me. Keep me in that humility that listens, in that courage that obeys, in that charity that never faileth. Thou wilt keep him in perfect peace, whose mind is stayed on thee, Isaiah 26:3. Stay my mind, Father. Be thou the presence in this room, in this day, in this life. And now a simple next step. Before the next task, before you rise from the seat, before you dial, before you sign pause, 10 seconds will do. Bow thee in a head and say, Father, be thou the doer, not I, Christ. Then move as light leads. In all thy ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct thy paths. Proverbs 3-6. This is the victory, not improved self-control, but consenting to the Christ who lives your life. Go in that quiet triumph. The vine will bear the fruit. The presence will keep the watch, and you will find, day upon day, that another has taken up residence, and lovingly, wisely, has taken up the government of all that you are and do. Thy grace is my sufficiency in all things, not I, Christ